afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to Global Atheist News Roundup, dateline 2nd of November 2024. This is the show that gives you the news on how religions have impacted humanity over the last 7 days. This week's headlines. Muslim countries vote no to taking Palestinian refugees. A Muslim footballer was stopped from playing in trousers. A fearless Australian Muslim leader seeks to reform Islam. The Southport attack suspect is in court on a terror charge. Pilgrims made their way, some crawling, to the San Felipe Church in Portobelo, Panama. Republicans seek votes among the Amish, who rarely cast them, in swing state Pennsylvania. BBC's reporter Emma Barnett spent a day at an abortion clinic ahead of the protest ban. Texas nuns in battle with Fort Worth bishop are dismissed from religious life. Here is the news in detail. After Israel crushed Hamas and Hezbollah, 57 Muslim countries' foreign ministers met in Saudi Arabia and voted upon taking Palestinian refugees on humanitarian grounds. 46 countries politely voted no. 11 countries voted non-politely. No kidding way. See this video.
Why aren't more Arab countries in the Middle East taking in Palestinian refugees? The onset of a renewed war between Israel and Hamas has led to fears that millions of Palestinian people living in the Gaza Strip may be forced to become refugees. But despite the fact that Gaza shares a border with Egypt, the Egyptian government almost immediately ruled out any possibility of accepting Palestinian refugees. In fact, Egypt is currently constructing an even larger border wall with Gaza than the one it currently has in place. Now, many outside observers have asked why Egypt, a majority Arab and Islamic nation, would turn away the Palestinian people. And of course, many have pointed out that it may serve the political interests of many Arab nations to refuse to accept Palestinian refugees because it allows them to then blame Israel for any sort of humanitarian crisis that unfolds. But the thing is, historically, many Arab nations have accepted Palestinian refugees, and that may be why Egypt doesn't want to now. For example, in 1991, the Kuwaiti government actually expelled nearly 300,000 Palestinians in the aftermath of the First Gulf War, and this represented an astonishing 18% of Kuwait's entire population. So what was the reason? Well, the Palestinian Liberation Organization had actually supported Saddam Hussein's invasion of Kuwait a year earlier. And this support only grew after Iraq began attacking Israel with rockets throughout the war. After Kuwait's liberation, the government considered much of the Palestinian community to be complicit in the Iraqi occupation of their country. And in response, nearly all Palestinians were deported in just a few months. And this wasn't the first time something like this had happened. Decades earlier, the Palestinian groups operating in Jordan had come to openly call for the overthrow of Jordan's monarchy in the aftermath of the Six-Day War. At the time, the PLO maintained its own separate army on Jordanian soil and used that armed force to sow chaos. Armed gangs of PLO militants drove around the capital of Amman, robbing families and businesses in the name of collecting financial assistance for the ongoing war of attrition against Israel. When members of the Jordanian police and army tried to defend their citizens from these attacks, they were attacked and killed. The Palestinian political network operated as a state within a state, with militants repeatedly using Jordan to launch rockets into Israel. The Marxist-Leninist Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine even went so far as to hijack multiple planes, diverting the flights to a Palestinian-controlled airfield in Jordan, where the passengers were held hostage. By September 1970, the Jordanian army had finally had enough. A full-scale war with the PLO broke out, and after 10 months of fighting, the Palestinians were driven out of the country. Yet, as a parting gift, a Palestinian terrorist group known as Black September assassinated the Jordanian prime minister. Sadly, the story doesn't end there, because the PLO then moved into Lebanon, where they allied themselves with Marxist and socialist movements that were seeking to overthrow Lebanon's conservative Maronite Christian government. The presence of thousands of Palestinian militants flooding into the country completely destabilized Lebanon and plunged the entire nation into chaos. Less than 4 years after the PLO was expelled from Jordan, Lebanon found itself in the middle of one of the most bloody and chaotic civil wars in Middle Eastern history, from which it has never fully recovered. In short, Palestinian organizations have not just attacked Israel. They have sowed unrest in many of the neighboring Arab and Muslim countries as well, and this has led those governments to the conclusion that allowing for mass immigration or even just refugee camp resettlement within their borders would lead to domestic unrest for their own countries. And this, of course, only exacerbates the humanitarian crisis for those Palestinian non-combatants caught in the middle. The problem is, as long as terrorist organizations like Hamas and others are elected to represent the Palestinian people, their plight will most likely continue, as neither Israel nor apparently the surrounding Arab nations want to see their own populations threatened by terrorist groups.
A football coach and refugee advocate was prevented from playing in a match because she wears tracksuit bottoms rather than shorts, which she says compromises her religious beliefs. Ikra Ismail, who captained Somalia in 2019, said the issue arose because she signed for Regent's Park grassroots team United Dragons Football Club. The 24-year-old from West London was expected to play her first game on Sunday against an East London team, but was told by the referee that club shorts were a requirement. The Greater London Women's Football League, of which United Dragons FC is a member, said that following the incident, it would be updating guidance to all match officials and members. Ms. Ismail told the BBC she was warmed up, ready to go, but when I came on at half-time, the referee told me that I wouldn't be able to play unless I was wearing shorts. I've been playing the same league for nearly 5 years, wearing the same tracksuit bottoms, and I've never worn shorts playing competitively, she continued. I told him that I wasn't comfortable wearing shorts in any capacity, and it was a shock to me that the referee took such a strong stance about it. I was visibly upset as the game was going on. My teammates and the manager were very supportive. Everyone has been devastated. A fearless Australian Muslim leader who seeks to reform Islam slams the Western world over suicidal immigration policies. See this video.
No, you are in a crisis. You went to the Muslim countries and you imported the garbage that the Muslim countries wanted to put in prison or isolate away from society. You went and you imported them. Why? For cheap labor. But these Islamist extremists, they don't want to work. They want free welfare. They want to marry French women, blonde hair, blue eyes. They don't have time to work. So look at Poland. They don't complain from Islamic extremism, not a single terrorist attack in Poland. The moment they sense there's a problem, they crack down on it. Polish policy, beautiful. The French, no, come. When they come, they use the resources. They go to Washington, D.C., and they sit in Congress. They support the Iranian regime. They go against the sanctions in Congress, right, with their hijab. Why? Because the ideology is filth to begin with. When you import that, or you allow it in, or you amplify it, or you glorify it in any way, you make your bed, sleep in it.
An 18-year-old who is accused of murdering 3 girls in Southport, that started the rioting, has appeared in court over a terror charge. Axel Rudakubana, who appeared via video link at Westminster Magistrates Court, is charged with making the toxin ricin. He also faces a charge of possessing a PDF file likely to be useful in committing or preparing an act of terrorism. Mr. Rudakubana held his grey tracksuit top over the bottom half of his face and didn't respond when asked to confirm his name. A security officer with him at Belmarsh Prison, where the defendant is being held, told the court he had chosen not to speak. Stan Rice, KC, defence lawyer, said, Mr. Rudakubana has remained silent at previous hearings as well, adding, for reasons of his own, he has chosen not to answer the question. Mr. Rudakubana has already been charged with murders of B.B. King, 6, Elsie Dot Stancombe, 7, and Alice de Silva Aguiar, 9, after the attacks in Southport on the 29th of July. He also faces charges on 10 counts of attempted murder and possession of a knife after the stabbings. The terrorism and poison charges were brought forward by prosecutors after the police's continuing investigation into the suspect. They include production of a biological toxin contrary to Section 1 of the Biological Weapons Act 1974, and possession of a PDF document of a kind likely to be useful to a person committing to or preparing an act of terrorism contrary to Section 58 of the Terrorism Act 2000. The PDF file was of a military study of a manual made by the Al-Qaeda terror organization. On Monday, October the 21st, 2024, during a festival celebrating the iconic Black Christ statue that was found on the country's shore in 1658, celebrants performed penances including crawling their way to the event and having candle wax dripped on them. See this picture. An Amish man in a horse-drawn buggy navigating through a busy intersection of auto traffic in Pennsylvania's Lancaster County saw a billboard proclaiming, "Pray for God's mercy for our nation." The billboard featured a large image of a wide-brimmed straw hat often worn by the Amish. And if there was any further doubt as to its target audience, the smaller print listed the sponsor as "For die Amish," referring to the Amish in their Pennsylvania German dialect. Researchers say most of the Amish don't register to vote, reflective of the Christian movement's historic separatism from mainstream society, just as they've maintained their dialect and horse and buggy transportation. But a small minority have voted, and the Amish are most numerous in the all-important swing state of Pennsylvania. So they're being targeted this year in the latest of decades of efforts to register more of them to vote. And Republicans are seeking their votes through billboards, ads, door-to-door canvassing, and community meetings. Republican campaigners see the Amish as receptive to GOP talking points: smaller government, less regulation, religious freedom. Emma Barnett reports for the BBC. She says, "When I arrive at an abortion clinic in South London, 4 protesters, 3 women and 1 man, are gathered on the opposite side of the road alongside a picture of the Virgin Mary, which is draped in rosary beads. They are silently mouthing prayers and ask not to be interrupted." Protesters outside abortion clinics, standing with signs, sometimes featuring graphic images of fetuses, have become a norm. This can be worrying and upsetting for some of the women going in for their procedure, who are sometimes approached by these individuals. The same is true for the healthcare staff working at the clinics. On Thursday, a new law came in making it illegal to influence, harass, or provoke anyone using or administering pregnancy termination services within a 150-metre radius of an abortion clinic in England and Wales. The change follows similar bans implemented in Northern Ireland last year and in Scotland also last year. Abortion buffer zones have been long campaigned for by some and fought against by others. Those who break this new law will face an unlimited fine. The law aims to put in place stronger safeguards for women accessing this health service, especially at a time when the topic of abortion is aggressively debated globally. Critics, however, say this comes at the expense of freedom of speech. Listen to this audio.
Do you believe in any circumstance in which abortion is okay?
Never.
If a woman is raped and harmed by a man,
Yeah.
do you believe she can have a baby that she did not consent to having the sex to create?
There's an awful lot of women who regret having abortions, including in tragic circumstances of rape or incest. They are dreadful, and the perpetrators need to be punished, and the woman needs to be protected as well. And we need to provide as much compassion. We need to weep with her and be empathetic to her and show her that...
Well, empathy won't pay the bills or deal with the fact that you will be able to see your rapist's face on your baby's face, and could be even more re-traumatising.
An abortion is traumatic for the woman. And,
How do you know that as a man?
well, there's been studies that demonstrate it. You don't need to be of a particular sex to know about the other sex.
Will you come when the law changes? Will you still stand outside the 150-metre perimeter being extended from Thursday in England and Wales?
I'll see what the policy of different organisations are and what my supervisors say.
A group of Texas nuns engaged in a year-long dispute with Catholic Church leadership has been dismissed from religious life and has reverted to the lay state, according to their Vatican-appointed overseer. Mother Mary of the Incarnation, who replaced Mother Teresa Agnes Gerlach at the behest of the Vatican in April, wrote in a statement posted October the 28th on the Fort Worth Diocese's website that the 7 nuns are no longer members of the Order of Discalced Carmelites because they have reverted to the lay state by their own action. The decision came after the nuns, who live in a monastery on 72 wooded acres in Arlington, Texas, announced they would no longer recognize Mother Mary of the Incarnation as their superior and would join the Society of St. Pius X, a traditionalist Catholic breakaway group. The nuns have been at odds with Fort Worth Bishop Michael Olson since he launched an investigation last year, alleging that Gerlach had broken her vow of chastity with a priest. Although Gerlach initially admitted to violating the vow, according to a statement posted on the diocese's website, she later told Olson she had never met the priest in person and was only guilty of sexting. Following this news, there will not be a Free Thought Hour chat show. This is because I've been on holiday in France with my daughter, visiting my son, and poor Tertia is not very well again. I don't know, are we jinxed? Well, anyway, this has been Global Atheist News. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe and share.